Darla, the crazy cross stitch lady. Welcome to my craft room, and welcome to all the new subscribers who have joined. I really appreciate that. We've had several new subscribers join. I have a little story behind that actually, but thank you for choosing to visit my craft room, and I appreciate all of you who are returning, the ones who have watched me for a while. Thank you so much for continuing to come and visit with me in the craft room and enjoy this journey with me that we call cross stitch. So let me tell you about the story of some of my new subscribers because I know who they are. So I had gotten to about 992, 93 subscribers, and something came up about YouTube with my students. I teach middle school. For those of you who are new, I am a public school teacher in Kentucky, and I'm in the central part of the state. So I teach middle school, and this year I have a combination of 6th and 7th graders. We're a split level team. And so I was talking to my students, and of course they love YouTube, and I had mentioned, somebody was talking about YouTube channels, and I said, did you know that I am a YouTuber? And when I'm like, they're like, yeah, we know. They'd found my channel somehow. And I said, I'm this close to 1,000. And they're like, oh, and they said, everybody get on and subscribe. So several of my students got on there and got me to 1,000. So we'll have to have a little celebration on here with me reaching my 1,000 subscriber mark. I'm not, my goal wasn't to get monetized or anything like that, but it's just nice to know that there's a community out there who's supportive, and my goal is to help you enjoy this craft and help bring joy to it, and that kind of thing. And that's why a lot of us get on there. I mean, there are tons of new FlossTube channels. We'll talk about that in just a minute too, because I'm amazed. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So my first one is a shout out to a YouTube channel. So I try to shout out as many of the FlossTubes as I can that I've subscribed to or I've seen. And so this one I was really excited about because I was searching for some new FlossTubes to watch. And of course, there is something out there for everybody. If someone's personality doesn't quite jive with you, then you don't have to, you don't have to be subscribed to them. Don't worry about it. There's going to be somebody out there that you're going to enjoy. And so I try to find different types of FlossTubes because I like to look at the different types of things that they stitch and their different experiences, and everybody brings something a little bit different to it, which I really enjoy that. So I've talked a lot about where I shop for my cross stitch stuff, and I go to 123stitch.com a lot. Of course, I like Fat Quarter Shop, all of those. So but I do shop a lot at 123 Stitch. I've given them a lot of free advertising because they offer a lot of things, and their prices are very good. They're very competitive. Well, I'm looking around, and did you know that 123 Stitch now has a FlossTube channel? I did not know that, and I thought, this is awesome. So I checked it out. They haven't been on there very long, but they've already done a short little stitch along, which they'd already finished that by the time I saw the channel. But it was neat to watch them do that. And their videos so far, they're pretty short videos, but it's just really neat. It's nice to see a face behind the company. So I will put a link in the description. And for those of you who have been with me a little while, you know that especially on my regular FlossTubes, I always try to put links to things and put timestamps down in the bottom so that you can choose which parts of the journey you want to focus on. So check that out if you are interested. And I'm so excited about it, and I hope that they post videos on a regular basis. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so next, I have my stash item, which I'm actually starting to run out of actual stash items to show you, which is kind of a good thing not really, right? I remember, if you remember for a while back, I got rid of a bunch of stuff that I just knew I wasn't going to stitch because my tastes have changed, and a lot of the more modern cross stitch, which you all know, I like a lot of the modern cross stitch. I don't do as much of the primitive stitch as some other people do, although I do appreciate it and enjoy it. But I thought I need to clean up my stash. And so I gave away a lot of my stash to the local stitch groups, and they grabbed them up because they love that stuff. So it's good that I've got mainly things that I know I'm going to stitch at some point, you know, once I get, you know, 28, 29 hours in a day, like we all want. And so now I'm running out of things to show you. So that's kind of good and kind of not, because I've shown you a lot of the new things I've gotten. But as I get some more things, and I'll continue to show you, but it may slow down a little bit. But I do want to show you this one designer that I don't ever hear anybody talk about on the FlossTubes. I don't think I've heard this designer mentioned one time. He is Canadian, and he likes to make sure that when he puts his kits together or things like that, that he's very environmentally friendly, at least as environmentally friendly as he can be, which I think is really cool. His patterns tend to have it's almost like a striped look to it. It's really neat. But I happened upon the website as I was doing some Google searches, and that's how I came upon this designer. So the designer I'm talking about is Pigeon Coop Designs. You may have heard of him. So I'm going to show you 3 of the patterns that I bought. The first one, you will see the stripiness of the pattern. The other 2, not so much, but he, like other designers, he has a very distinct style to him. And I haven't actually stitched up anything of his yet, but I'm wanting to. This first one is called Winding River, and he likes to do a lot of nature themes. So again, this is Pigeon Coop Designs. So let me show you what this looks like. Isn't that neat? So you see the stripy pattern in the river, and then, you know, the trees have the stripy pattern. And so it's just really cool. So I don't know if this will be the first one I stitch, because there are a couple of other ones he's got here that are really cute. This one is called Jolly Squirrel. So it's the same designer, Pigeon Coop. Isn't that cute? I just love that one. I think it's adorable. And then this third one is Mr. Green Thumb, and it's a rabbit. And I love rabbits almost as much as I love my cows. And so here's this one. This would be perfect to stitch this spring, wouldn't it? He likes to design his patterns to fit very nicely in hoops. So that's what he does here. And the rabbit's just watering the flowers. Isn't that cute? I love it. I love it. I don't have any desire to change out any of the colors in his, because I think his are just, you know, like spot on. So anyway, that is my stash star. And I hope that, you know, I don't know how popular he is because I haven't heard anyone mention him, but I really hope that he can pick up some momentum if he hasn't, you know, already. I may be assuming too much. All right, so let's get to the whips. I showed you some finishes last time. I have not fully finished them, and I really, really need to work on those. So I'm going to try in the next few weeks to maybe start working on doing some full finishes. It takes me a long time to do a full finish because I haven't done a lot of them, and I have to go slowly, and that's okay. But it just, you know, it just takes me a while. So currently I have 5 projects in my rotation that I'm working on, and I have other whips, but I'm trying to focus on 5, and I always want to make sure one of them is a full coverage piece. And I will show you that again. I've made a little bit of progress since the tutorial I did on how to do, or tips on how to do full coverage pieces. All right, so this first one is one of my stitch quarterlies for Fat Quarter Shop. This is It's So Emma, which is the publishing arm of Fat Quarter Shop. This is called Citrus Summer. You may remember seeing that before. So I've worked on this quite a while, and then I stopped for a bit, so I like that one. And here is where I am. Let me get this folded up a little bit. Okay, so here is where I currently am with this. I've made some progress on the jar itself, or it's a mason jar cup is what it is. So that's where I am. And it's very fun to stitch. It's very soothing. There's a lot of blue, you know, a lot of blue in this. So, and that's okay. It is very soothing to stitch. This is a 14 count this pattern is curved tile. This is by Fabric Flair. This is screen printed. It is not dyed. It's screen printed, so it should be color fast. Should be. I have not tried to wash it. I may try to wash a corner of it just to see if anything comes off, but that is where I am on that one. And I'm using DMC colors, the ones that were provided, and they're so refreshing. You know, it just speaks summer, doesn't it? And it's that yellow coming out and the light gray and the blue. So I like those colors. So that's one that I'm working on. So let me scoot that one over. Now this next one is from a local couple. The lady is a local stitcher in our group, and their company is called Dyed to Perfection. They have created some patterns. They do over-dyed. So they dye fabric, they dye floss. And so this pattern is called Paw Love. I have stitched this on a 28 count Parisian pink, and I'm not sure what company it's from. I don't know that it's from Fabric Flair, but anyway, I have stitched it with, this is called Mediterranean Seas. So here is, let's see, you can see that pretty well. I haven't got my board with me, so anyway, they're such pretty colors, and they just do a beautiful job of dyeing this. And they use DMC 3865, which is the very pearly white color. Use that as their base. And then they dye it, and it's beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. So here, now I think can you give me just a second? I really think I'm going to need my board for this one. So very sorry, but it's kind of see-through-y, and I think it's going to look better on the board. And there we go. So this one, I'm not gonna call this finished yet, although it would help if I held it up right. This is not finished. Now, the actual pattern itself is finished, but I'm going to I had a hard time deciding what color floss to use to stitch my dog's name. All the dogs I had growing up, I'm gonna stitch their names either, so maybe some inside the heart and maybe down here, close to the bottom. It would be nice if I could keep them all inside the heart, but I'm trying to find in my alphabet books an alphabet that will actually work. So I've decided to use black to really make the names stand out. And I think that will work, but they're gonna have to be very thin letters. So we'll see how that goes, but it's done. I think it's really cute, and I really like it. I'm very happy with it. So there's that. That's Paw Love. Okay. Now this next one, I've been working on Barn Sweet Barn, which is a stitch along from Fat Quarter Shop, and this is the 2023 Sal. They have actually done a few years of Barn Sweet Barn, and some of my floss has gotten tangled up somehow in this. Let me get, yeah, there we go. I got it undone. It's like tingle. So I'm working at my own pace and just going slowly. I got the January one finished, and I think I showed that last time. So I'm working on February now. So maybe if I speed up a little bit, I can actually keep up this year with last year's Sal. So this is what the star looks like. Now, the star, this is the January star, but every star looks exactly like this. It's exactly the same, except each month they always use white, but then they use a different color, and it's like a darker shade and a lighter shade of that color. So there's what the star looks like, okay? And I haven't gotten very far, but this is where I have gotten on the February star. So this is where I am right now. This is so fun and relaxing to stitch. It's fun because it's a very simple stitch. It's, you know, they're done in patterns of rows of 6, and it's just, I don't have to think very much. I can just sit and relax and watch one of my classic movies, and I love Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and just watch that and stitch and just be happy and get rid of my stress. So I'm going to keep working on this. This is on a 25, this is a 25 count white Lugana, which I like stitching on too. If you're thinking, well, how does that translate to Aida? It's about, you know, a 12.5 Aida, even though they don't make a 12.5 Aida, but that's what it would amount to basically. So I'm stitching on that. And where is my floss? There it is. So I'm still using the white. I had enough white to carry over from the January one. And so the two other colors that I'm using, these are all DMC. And I just bought the big pack that they give you for all the stars. And this is 3712 and 761. So we have that one that kind of got a little ratty looking. I'll have to straighten that out. And that one. So very pretty colors. Very pretty. All right, there's that one. Now this one, ooh, I'm loving this one. This is a pattern by Rosewood Manor, and it's called Blue Rhapsody. And I talked about wanting to do a purple sampler wall. So I have started my first purple sampler. So let me show you what this looks like. I think it's beautimous. Got the butterfly and the alphabet, and I just think it's very, very pretty. And then there's a place where you can put your, where is it? Yeah. Now you can put your initials and the year that you complete it. Now it's called Blue Rhapsody because obviously you've got the blue. I am not doing that, so I've switched it out to purple. The colors that I'm using are DMC's 209. And I'm using 3837, a darker one that also got kind of ratty. I don't know, sometimes they'll get caught on something and they'll, like a pair of scissors, and they'll go, you know. So anyway, easily solved. You can straighten it out. This fabric the color is called Everything Else. It looks kind of a champagne color, and it's an opalescent, which I like. And so let me see if I can, I don't know if I can hold up the whole thing, but it's got some modeling in it, which is really pretty. But okay, let me see if I can get this. And this is by Mystic Fabrics. This fabric is Mystic Fabrics. Okay, so here's what I've got so far. What do you think? Isn't that awesome? I love the purple. I love it, love, love the purple. And I think that is looking great. And you can probably see the opalescent if I move it a little bit. And so it looks good on camera. Let me see if I can hold up like some of the fabric so you can see. Oh yeah, you can see the modeling there. So that's all through the piece. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it looks a little bit lighter on the camera than it does in person, but it's not that much darker. So I'm very, 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 very happy with this and the way that it's looking. Now the fabric is well, you can tell it's Aida. This is a 14 count Aida, but it's very soft. And the only thing about this that can get a little irritating is that the weave is a little bit looser than I like. And so it gets easy for the needle to slip through the wrong part of the hole. So I have to be very careful with that. But other than that, I mean, I'm getting used to it, so it's not that bad. I'm adjusting to it. Okay, my last one, the piece de resistance. I didn't take French in school. I was a Spanish girl myself, so forgive me. So this is my Lincoln piece. I've titled this Log Cabin Legacy. I took photos off of the internet that I don't have to worry about copyright, and I put them through a collage program to create a collage, and then put that through a program called Threadbare. It's online, threadbare.com. And they do have patterns. I looked back at them again because I thought they were mainly a photo conversion program, but they have a lot of patterns on there. But I used it for this photo conversion. So I took the collage, converted it to a cross stitch pattern, and I am using a 16 count white Aida on this. I don't use specialty fabrics on it because I think that would be a waste of the specialty fabric because you won't see it. Although I have figured out my eyes don't like 18 count anymore. My Michael Jackson piece was an 18 count, so I wanted to go lower. I started on a Buster Keaton full coverage with 14 count. And I'm not very far on it, but I've done enough where I don't like the coverage on that. It's not enough. 14 count is good for the regular types of pieces, but I've noticed with full coverage, for me, it's not going to cut it. It's not covering enough. I'm seeing too much of the fabric. It's too many gaps. So I started this on 16 count, and I'm doing using two threads, and I'm pleased with the coverage, and my eyes seem to be okay with it. I seem to be able to do 16 count, which means hopefully I can also, if I want to do an even weaver linen, do a 32 count. I don't see me doing 36 anymore. My eyes don't like 36 either. So I'm envious of the ones who can stitch on the higher counts, but I don't think I can, and that's okay. And it's okay if all you stitch on is Aida, or you're supposed to pronounce it Aida, but you know, a lot of us do Aida, it's fine. But that is okie dokie, okay? So don't let anybody Aida shame you, okay? That's one thing that I want, especially if you're newer to stitching. I had people comment to me several times that they're like, you know, I'm watching all these floss tubes and everybody's using even weave or mainly using linen, and they very rarely talk about Aida. And I've noticed that too. But you will find some out there who are using Aida on their projects. And even Fat Quarter Shop, for the longest time, she was only comfortable, Kimberly was just comfortable with Aida, and made a lot of cross-stitch projects that were very beginner friendly. I love those projects too. And in fact, you know, a lot of projects now don't have a lot of specialty stitches, like unless you're doing a sampler or something like that. They've gone more to just full cross stitches. But I am planning on doing a short series on simple specialty stitches. So that is coming up. I'm going to try to release one with this video too. Have 2 videos out at the same time. Because it's just neat to know some of those specialty stitches, and they're not super complicated, and you can add some little pizzazz to some of your pieces if you want to. It's just nice to know them and have them in your little cross-stitch toolbox. So anyway, I've been, so let me actually show you the piece. It's like you kind of got off target there. So this is Log Cabin Legacy. Sorry about that, I didn't mean to ramble. But if you're stitching with this, you probably won't mind. But here it is. It's got Lincoln and Mary and one of the kids anyway, one of the boys, and then the iconic Lincoln picture in the middle. And then this is the statue that is in downtown Hodgenville, which is in my hometown. It's on the square. This is thankfully the refurbished version, because as I was growing up, he was quite green because of all the weather and stuff. And finally they refurbished it. And then up here, let's see, this one is out of the birthplace, which is also in Hodgenville. This houses the notorious childhood birth cabin, not really cabin. It's not really, it's a replica is what it is inside, but it's still pretty cool. And then this other picture is a cabin that is out at the Boyhood Home, which is a few miles outside of Hodgenville. And it's a really pretty park there. So I wanted to do this because Lincoln is my favorite president, and I grew up in Lincoln culture. I mean, everything in our area is pretty much named after Lincoln. Shocker. But the more I learned about him, the more fascinated I am by him. And it's also kind of a nod to my hometown, because Abraham Lincoln and I share the same hometown. It's not anything that I can be proud of, because I didn't do anything to be born in the hometown. It just happened that way. But I am, pretty pleased that it happened that way. So let me show you the little bit of progress that I have made. I've got a little bit in a tiny corner here. I have to fold this just right, because this piece is going to be pretty big. And it kind of scares me, because I've never done one quite this big, and I'm kind of wondering, this frame is going to cost me $14 million when I get it done. But it will be so worth it. But I bought this. This is a 16 count Aida from Zweigart. So I wanted some nicer Aida to work with. But this, I'm starting in, I always, on my full coverages, I start in the top left corner, and I'm going like diagonally across. So I'm gonna do page at a time going across, but I'm doing diagonal stitches so I don't get ridges. So it's this, what you're going to see is just the top corner of just the background. Okay, so this is what I currently have. Okay, does not look like much at all, and it's not going to look like much for quite a while, but then suddenly we're going to start seeing faces and backgrounds and things like that, and it's going to be really awesome. But there are several different shades already of gray, and actually some shades of blue that kind of take on a gray tinge. And that's what's going to give the picture the depth that it's going to have. So we're started. It's going to be a while. It's going to take a while, but we're started on it. And that's where I am on that one. And if you're interested in learning some tips on how to start a full coverage, and you've never done a full coverage before, the previous video that I just did that was released is tips on how to start a full coverage piece. So if you are interested, please go to that video. It's the one before this one, and check it out. And hopefully that will help you. Okay, so that takes care of my whips. my 5 bips. And now we're going to get to my crazy craft tip. So this time my crazy craft tip is that if, there are so many patterns online, and we download a lot of PDFs, especially if you go to Etsy. When you're ordering a pattern, you're most likely going to be downloading a PDF pattern. Well, that's great. And a lot of people like to download their PDFs onto a tablet or something like that, and then they will use their, computer tools to highlight the different, X's and all of that, which is awesome. What I am suggesting as my tip, and this is what I do, I have a jump drive that I use, and on that jump drive, I have put a folder that is specifically for cross-stitch patterns. When I download my PDF, I try to save it to 2 spots. I save it on my laptop, but I also save it on the jump drive. The ones on the laptop, I should probably save somewhere else, but I make sure that I've got it saved so that, and I like paper patterns. That's just me. And so I will keep them saved, and I will only print them out when I'm ready to use them. So I keep them saved on the jump drive, and I also have them saved somewhere else. I've got an exterior hard drive that I'm putting a lot of things on, and so my patterns will be eventually going there too. Just in case something happens to one, you've got a copy of the other. Some sites will, you can store them in the cloud, even something like that. But I always, even if you store things in the cloud, I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that. I'm at the age where it's kind of like, okay, I kind of know what the cloud is, but I'm still a little iffy on it. But I want to have it where I can immediately get my hands on it, and that's just me. So that is my piece of advice, is to download and save your PDF patterns in at least 2 different spots to make sure that you don't lose it. And to add to that, just so you can learn from a mistake that I made, I ordered about 4 or 5 patterns, and none of them were very expensive, but all added together, it was probably about $30 or $40 that I spent on these patterns. Ordered it from an online company. They emailed me the pattern, and it wasn't a file that they emailed to me. They emailed a link to their site where it had to go to the site, and then you could get the pattern from the site. I had not, even if you go to the site, I had not saved this yet. I kept it in the email because for some reason I thought they were files. If it's a file, you're going to open it and it's just going to download as a PDF. You don't have to go to any site. Well, a few months went by, and that site, the owner of the company, for health reasons, decided to shut the company down. Okay, fine. I completely understand. But when I went to retrieve my patterns, I clicked on the links, and the links were broken. And I had emailed the owner thinking that the company was still solvent. And I did get a reply explaining why they had stopped, and said something about, try re-downloading or something, and nothing worked. And so I lost those patterns, and I have no idea where I can find those patterns again. I don't remember the name of the patterns, and it was just, it was lost. So I lost the patterns, and it's very sad because I really wanted those patterns, but lesson learned. And so I want to pass that along to you so that it doesn't happen to you. Especially if you buy a pattern from someone and when you click on it, if it links back to the website, get that thing down, like do it immediately. Get that thing downloaded and onto your jump drive, your hard drive, whatever drive, cloud drive, whatever. But get that from them so that you aren't losing your pattern like I did. So yeah, learn from me. I'll pay for the mistake and then you can learn from it. All right, well, it looks like that's all I've got. And you know, I told you all a while back that my dad had passed away, and a couple of videos before this, I talked about that he'd gotten very sick. He's been gone for a little over a month now. And, you know, it's been rough, but I've had some conversations with my mother, and I feel like I've passed a couple of hurdles that were kind of really bothering me. And it's not that we're not grieving anymore or anything like that, but it feels a little bit easier today. Feels a little bit easier. And I really, really appreciate all of the support that I got from everyone commenting and saying how sorry they were. And it just made me feel good to know that there were people who were reaching out. I mean, sometimes, you know, strangers can, you know, people that you've never seen before, maybe you've interacted some online, but if you know, not seen them before and they're extending sympathy, you know, that you're just a fellow human being and we see that you're suffering, you're grieving, and you're sad, and, you know, just acknowledging that. And I think that that's just a very gracious, kind thing to do. And I really appreciate that. This community is just full of kind people and generous people. And I just want to give back. And I hope that what I'm doing here with these videos is giving back to you in whatever way you need. So on that note, be creative, be blessed, and I will see you later.